What's up, everybody? Welcome to 2022 and the very first Deep in the Plus of the year. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you. If you have not already, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to Unplanned Downtime for lots of good content. And tonight, we've got a good one for you, right fresh off of Disney Plus, Encanto. And here to talk about it with me is the lovely Desi. How are you?
Hi, I'm ready to talk about Bruno.
We don't talk about Bruno. First and foremost, we don't talk about Bruno. Now, so this is kind of different for us because this is like right out of the gate. We're going to be talking about this one, and I think that in this coming year, we really want to talk a lot about the things that are on people's minds. And Encanto was one of those movies that hit the theaters, and a month later, it was on Disney Plus. It was a weird kind of a situation. Like Raya was like a same day. You could go see it in the theater or you could go see it on Disney Plus. This one was you saw it in the theater or you didn't see it until Christmas Eve. So I'm going to ask you, did you take your family to see this in the theaters or did you wait until it came to Disney Plus?
I waited until it came to Disney Plus.
You just wanted it for free.
Pretty much everything else. Yeah, so I waited until Shang-Chi was on Disney Plus. I just wait until it's available for free. And it's just more comfortable to watch at home.
Well, that's true. I love the movie theater experience, though. So for me, like Shang-Chi and Eternals, I saw both of those in the theater. So, I mean, there are Spider-Man. I had to see Spider-Man in the theater.
I haven't seen it yet. No spoilers.
You mean you don't know? Okay. So anyway, so I'd still love the theater going experience, but for this one, it just happened to work out that it was, a great movie to watch on Christmas Eve, or actually watched it a little bit after that. But this movie made about $200 million at the box office, and honestly, I don't think it quite recouped its money. It made $206 million at the box office, and I think like $76 million of that was domestic. So it's a weird business model. So Disney is making a lot of money with Disney Plus for the subscriber base, and I don't know what litmus test they do to figure out if it's worth having on Disney Plus or worth releasing in the theaters. But it was neat, and it was a great gift for Christmas to be able to see this. The neat thing about it is that Disney has basically been working on a new movie every November. Now, there was some stuff that messed that up. Zootopia got moved to like a March release date, and then we lost Gigantic, so then there was a year where we didn't have that. But for the most part, they have a target of November every year. So this November, we got to see Encanto. The year before, it was Raya was supposed to be a November release of 2020, and then next year we're supposed to have Strange Worlds. So it's kind of cool that we have sort of a Disney movie every year. But as you know, Desi, this is the 60th full-length Disney animated feature. Do you feel like it's a worthy movie to be in that category with Snow White, with Frozen, with Pinocchio, with Dumbo, with all the rest of them?
I don't know yet. I haven't. Maybe I need to watch it a few more times to make a final decision. I think it was more enjoyable than some of their other ones recently. It was better for me than Onward or Soul, but not quite as good as Moana.
But you're right.
I liked it better than Raya.
Okay. But you're rattling off a lot of Pixar movies, though. Onward is a Pixar movie. Soul is a Pixar movie. So, I mean, just looking at these from the Disney full-length animated features, Zootopia, Moana, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Frozen 2, Raya, and Encanto have been the past 6.
Better than Frozen 2, better than Raya, not as good as Moana.
Not as good as Moana. Now, here's the interesting thing. Obviously, the music is done by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and in this one, and we'll get to the music in a little bit, we'll talk about that, but so was the music from Moana. So, I mean, is that the common thread here for you, do you think?
I liked the music. Some songs more than others, but I don't think that any of these songs had quite the same hit for me as How Far I'll Go.
Okay, that's fair. But also, you've had more time to sit with those songs, right? So maybe maybe after a while these songs
I also saw Moana in the theater, so maybe it was just the whole experience.
Could have been.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, for those of you who have not watched it yet, we're not going to go shot by shot with this one. And you know, if you've seen it, I don't think we're going to really ruin much here for you at the beginning, maybe near the end. But we're not going to go shot for shot. But I just want to talk about a lot of things around this movie. So, just for a basic synopsis of this movie is a very sort of dark, sad movie at its heart. I think there's a lot of things that happen that are very. I mean, it's about the Thousand-Year War in Colombia and this family that is basically running from running for their safety, and the father sacrifices himself and creates this magic for his now widow and her 3 children, and the magic candle is what brings this whole Encanto, which is like a village, a safe zone, to life, and builds this house for them. And then now each of them, as they grow to a certain age, start to get these powers that are given to them by the candle as well. So I think all of that is kind of expressed in the beginning of the movie. I don't think there's a lot of spoilers there, but just the way that it happens, it's that whole thing in Disney where you lose a parent, right? So whether it's the Lion King or Bambi, it's like right into it in the beginning, you're gonna lose a parent. So did you watch this with your kids, and did they find that a little dark, or were they cool with it?
I don't know if my kids understood. They are pretty young. I have toddlers. They don't, you know, they still don't speak a whole lot of words yet, so maybe they didn't quite understand. They didn't seem as into it as they were into Luca.
Okay.
So, maybe because they're boys too.
Ugh, boys are the worst. So here's a visual, though, as the father is trying to protect his family and these horsemen are riding up, and you don't actually see the whole thing go down, but you sort of do. I mean, it's very intense at the very beginning, and this is the abuela, or the grandmother, talking to Mirabel, who is basically the center of this movie, and telling her the story of how they got the magic in the first place. So that's the first thing we see in this movie, is her explaining the magic to us through explaining it to Mirabel. And then we meet Mirabel when she's older, and we have her first song where she's singing, and basically singing to the town, telling them all about her family. And so through the first bit of the story, we're learning about the magic, and through the second bit, we're learning about the family. So through song in the second one, we're really kind of thrown into the whole thing. And this movie, as a lot of behind the scenes with Lin-Manuel Miranda have said, has 12 main characters, which is kind of a lot. I mean, it's not just like one person and their sidekick. It's a whole bunch of people. Were you able to keep track of all of it? Do you know everybody's names by heart? All that?
No, I've watched it a couple times and I still don't know everybody's names. But they even kind of poke fun of it in the song. They say, how do you keep all of these people straight? Who's a cousin? Who's a sister? It is kind of hard to keep straight. And also, the family Madrigal, does that mean that when her dad and her uncle married into the family, they took that name?
So I'm
Because
glad.
they call her.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up and not me, because, I'm trying to be progressive here, thinking about it that way. But yeah, I mean, it's in its heart, it's a matriarchy. Their abuela is in charge of everything. That some of them fear her a little bit. She's kind of like the queen of this little village, and people bring their problems to her, and they come to celebrate her family with her. And so her last name is Madrigal. And as you look through the cast listing, Felix, who is one of the husbands, and I forget the other husband's name, but they're all Madrigals. So I mean, that is a thing that has happened. So I wondered that myself, because her name is Mirabel Madrigal, of the Magical Madrigals. Like that,
Right.
like that wasn't hard enough already.
So I was thinking, oh, maybe the mom kept her maiden name, but I don't know. I don't see my husband going for it. If I was to say, you know what, you should have taken my name instead of me taking your name. Um, but maybe we're
Well,
just too traditional.
Augustin is voiced by Wilmer Valderrama, is the other husband, and yeah, he is listed as Augustin Madrigal. So yeah, they are all the Madrigals. Um, I did think that was interesting and was going to bring that up too. It is. So the Abuela is, she is the, you know, the OG basically. She was the one who brought the three children to the house, and all of her daughters or her two daughters have a power, and her son Bruno. But at this point, again, we don't talk about Bruno. We don't. We don't talk about.
Silencio.
No, that's another movie. That's Pixar.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, I
somebody
know.
doesn't like Brunos
There's a lot of
at
Brunos.
Disney.
No, there's a lot of Brunos going on. So she has one daughter who can cure you with the food she makes. She has another daughter who storms a lot. Like she has storms over her head. I'm not really sure I understand that power completely. And then Bruno, who we don't learn until later, but has the power to see visions of the future. So those are like kind of the three. That's the first generation. And to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, does Abuela really have a power? Or is she just the keeper of
She
the
ha
candle?
I was wondering about that because she has a door. So they never really said whether she has a power or not, but she has a door that glows, implying that she has a power. Maybe her power is the house? I don't know.
Yeah. So there's the Casita, which is the house. So Encanto is the
Hmm.
village that they're in, the safe zone that they're in, and the
Oh,
Casita is the house.
it's the name of the village? I thought Encanto was just the name of
I
their
don't think it's
enchantment.
the name of the village. I feel like it's the name of their, like, this whole protected area is the Encanto, that it protected them
Okay.
from the soldiers and you know the rest of it. And so I didn't really realize until the second watching through that this is based from Colombia, where the war had happened, because there, as you go back through the
I didn't
village,
know
they
that
have the
either.
word Colombia as if these were refugees who had
Well,
found safe harbor here.
I knew it was supposed to be set in Colombia. I just didn't realize that it was based on the Hundred Years' War or anything like that. I just knew
I
it
think it's
was
a
Colombian.
thousand days war. Did I say
Oh,
years?
okay.
I meant days. 1,000 days.
Sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
not up on my Colombian history, unfortunately.
I mean, so here's what started me down that road is trying to figure out where in time this takes place, because like when we meet some of the characters later, there's not electricity in the house, which I mean, there's not a power station anywhere nearby, so that would make sense. But you know, trying to figure out and place where this is in time, and so since the ceremony that we see with Antonio is, she says that they've been there for 50 years, and that war ended, I think, 1902. This puts them in the like early 50s. So that would be where this would take place in the timeline, is about 1950s.
Well, I mean, did the movie start at the end of the war? How do you know it wasn't like at the beginning?
so when it at the worst case scenario, if it was at the end of it, would be 1902, but it was 1,000 days, so it would, I think it was 1896 to 1902. I mean, I'm sure people will fact check me on that, but don't bother,
Okay.
because I'm just giving you some generics. We're not historians here, but these are somewhat factual about this time. So when they've got this, like, the safe harbor or the safe zone that they're in, the village really depends on the Madrigal family, because the Madrigal family has been given all of these gifts. So the first generation, that's their gifts, and then the next generation, Mirabel's sisters, one, Luisa, she is super strong. Isabel is, she is, see, again, I'm a little confused about Isabel, because Isabella, she talks about how
She
flawless
has,
and pretty she is, but she also can make flowers. Like,
I
what
think
is the
she's
actual
got
power?
like a plant power. Like she can control all plants. Although it seems like only flowers at first, it becomes all plants later.
Yeah. Madeline in the chat said the house is magic. Most of the characters have magic, and the thing that disrupts your suspension of disbelief is that two men adopt the last names of the wives. Yeah. No, it was just a comment. It was just a comment. Yeah, there is sort of a suspension of disbelief in this, and the fact that this candle can bring all these things to life. So no, we're just talking. We're good. So when they go into do like this next generation of kids and the grandkids and their powers, Mirabel, it's her time to, we learn that she does not have a power, that when she went to get a gift, the door disappeared and she didn't get her gift, and so there's a lot of animosity sort of, and she's trying to be positive about that, but the town and the family, they just won't let her forget it. Like she's trying to be upbeat about it, and they keep like this one guy brings her a gift and says, "This gift is for you because you have no gift." So I mean, it's yeah,
I mean, it's kind of relatable. I think a lot of people could say that they're trying to find their way to fit in and they see everybody else and it looks like everybody else is special and has all these wonderful things and they don't. I
yeah,
felt like it was almost like a commentary on social media. Like you see Isabella and she's so perfect and so wonderful. It's not fair,
right.
but you don't know what it's like for her on the other side.
But she's really trying, and that's the thing too, is she's really trying to be, you know, she's trying to be positive about everything. And yet again, the people in the town, especially these three little kids that follow her around asking her all these questions, they keep like harping on her, like, "But what's your gift? But what's your gift? But what's your gift?" And so she doesn't have one to tell them. And eventually, like her cousin Dolores like peeks over the side and says, "Oh, Mirabel, she doesn't have one. Sorry." I mean, so she's really trying to be positive and all the whole way through, and people I think are just, you know, they're trying to bring her down, and so I love that she still has that upbeat attitude throughout that whole thing, but that continues to be a theme throughout the whole thing is like, oh, you don't have one, you're just jealous because you don't have one, or you're making this up because you don't have one, and so. Yeah, it's a little tough to watch sometimes, I think, because you're rooting for Mirabel and you appreciate how positive she's being, and they're kind of like coming down on her the whole time. So,
It's kind of the opposite of most Disney movies. Most Disney movies, they focus on the special person, the person who has the powers and has the magic, and, you know, the characters that don't have the magic are the side characters. This is kind of flipped where the main character is the only one without magic. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
yeah, and then there's a part in here where she actually um, tries to share with everybody, like, this is our family tree. So you can see Abuela's there, and then the three children that she had with Bruno in the middle, and then the grandkids at the bottom. So one of her grandkids is he's a shapeshifter, and his name is Camillo. Is that correct? Which I think sounds like chameleon, and he is a shapeshifter. And then Dolores can hear things, and like from far away. And then Isabella, as we said, is, you know, she has the plant power, and then Luisa is strong. And then when we kind of pick up with this story, it's Antonio, her little cousin. It's his like gift day. It's like his ceremony day, and so he goes up and he gets this gift of being able to communicate with animals. So all of these people in the family use their gifts to help the town. But I feel like Luisa is the only one really helping out the town with her gifts, because she's doing all the work. She's, you know, hauling burros from one place to another, and she's got, or donkeys, I guess. And then she's got, like, she's fixing houses and moving churches. I don't even know why she was moving the church. I'm not really sure. But this leads me to my question for you is, if you had one of these powers, which one would you want? And then also, which is the least useful?
I would probably want the one where I could make everybody feel better with my cooking, because then I could just get rid of COVID. None of this would happen. I'd just cook for everybody, and we could all go back to our normal lives. And then the one that's probably least useful, um, I'm going to go with whatever Abuela has because we don't even know what it is.
I feel like I just showed
Or
this is Julieta, the mother. This
probably,
is the mother that has the healing power. This guy's arm is broken, and she gives him some food, and it fixes it right up. So her sister has the storm power, and I'm really not sure I ever see her using it for anything useful. It's just really more of a nuisance for her.
it's based on her mood. So as long as she's happy, then it's fine. Which kind of makes me feel bad about her wedding day, because if it was a hurricane, then I guess she didn't have a very happy wedding day.
Oh, well, I mean, it was all Bruno's fault, but again, we don't talk about Bruno. So then we've got everyone has their power. We find out that that Antonio gets his power, and he can talk and communicate to animals. And his first animal that he communicates with is a toucan. And the funny thing to me about the toucan in this is that he is actually played by Alan Tudyk, who is like Disney's Lucky Charm when it
Yes.
comes to these movies, and it seems so random that he.
K2SO.
Yes, exactly. But it seems so random that of all the things he's the voice of the toucan, except for the fact that in Moana he was hey hey. So
Hey, hey.
yeah, I get that that's a thing too. So the other character in this house is the house, like the casita. So the casita has the power to move them through the house, move things across using its tiles and its floorboards, and to really kind of help them. And it's like it sends a clock to them to say, hey, it's time to go to the ceremony, and it hangs the hats on the wall when people come to visit. And so I assume your house is just like this, that it just kind of takes care of you the whole time that you're there.
I wish. Man, that'd be awesome.
But it's neat again that when they take something that is an object and they make it like like carpet in Aladdin, and that one's a little easier too because the hands the tassels become hands and you can see a little bit more emotion in that, but you feel that Casita is part of the family in this. I think they do a really good job of doing that.
Yeah.
Yep. So everybody has their powers, and as Antonio's getting his, and he opens the door, and when he opens it, this entire jungle appears inside, like it's some sort of a TARDIS. That it's totally it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. All of the rooms are like that. That once they go inside, that they have just this boundless amount of environment and room that they go from.
All of them? I thought it was only Bruno and Antonio's rooms.
Well,
Or I guess no, because when we see not Luisa,
Isabella.
Isabella's room, that's pretty big too.
Yeah. I don't think we ever see Luisa's room, do we? We just see her like
No.
exercising outside of her room. And
Hmm.
we don't see like the shapeshifter's room or any of the others. But the only other room we see is the nursery, which again, just to make her feel small, is Mirabel has to stay in the nursery.
It's kind of the opposite of Wendy Darling, who wants to stay in the nursery and is getting forced out of it. Mirabel, I guess, has to stay because she doesn't have her own door.
Yeah.
So I thought that the big twist was going to be, oh, her power is actually she is really good with children. So that's why she's staying in the nursery is to help out with Antonio and any other kids that come along. But oh well, I guess I was wrong.
Well, she's definitely good with children. I mean, that's neat. The other thing I notice as I'm is going through this now, when they tell the story of Abuela and her husband and how they met, there's a butterfly involved. When there's a vision with Bruno, there's a butterfly involved. And as you look around, and I took a second pass through this movie, there's so many. Sorry about that. I was going to show you this. There's so many butterflies, including on her outfit. I mean, all of the ones that are stitched in around the top and the ones that are printed on the dress. So butterflies are a common theme in this, and I don't know if it's kind of subliminal to the fact that a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, and that's when they get these gifts and these powers, or like, but we continually see butterflies all the way through this. Am I reading too much into that?
I think that Abuela and Abuelo, their like love song was about two caterpillars, wasn't it?
Sure.
So
Honestly, I'm not really. I don't really remember that was a thing, but it does. It again.
it
It
was
does.
it was in Spanish.
Oh, okay. Then maybe it was. So then when speaking of the music, this music again was from Lin-Manuel Miranda. In looking at behind the scenes stuff, he says that with Moana he came into the project after it was already done, but for this one he came in as the project was starting, so he could kind of help in the same way that Howard he compared himself to Howard Ashman. How Howard Ashman was able to help tell the story musically. In Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, that he was able to do that with this movie. And I definitely feel like there is a much more of a musical vibe to this one than there is to Moana.
Maybe I can see that, the whole intro song is the exposition, is telling us everything we need to know about these characters. Whereas with Moana, it's not necessarily a storytelling device. It's more like showing you her emotions. So like the story was already written and he just came in to enhance it, which is maybe why I actually liked Moana better because I just felt more emotion from How Far I'll Go versus the Family Madrigal is just, there to tell me the story. I don't know, but I don't know how I feel about him comparing himself to Howard Ashman because I feel like you shouldn't do that. He's just too awesome. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I don't disagree that Lin-Manuel Miranda is hugely talented, absolutely, and I love his music. And Hamilton, I didn't go into the musical seeing the music or hearing the music first. I went in cold to that musical, and so all of that music I had heard for the first time when I saw it on the touring company. So that music, I think that's a lot of the similarity to what we see here. There's not a lot of talking. There's more of the of communicating through music that happens. But there's one song, I don't know how familiar you are with Hamilton, but the song that Isabella sings reminds me of the Schuyler Sisters song, because there's, I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
could see that.
yeah, it has that same kind of a vibe to it. And then when they're singing over each other, that's the thing that I don't understand as a songwriter, how he comes up with that, where the two voices are singing different songs that and they complement each other at the same time, and then they merge together into one, is just so well done. So, I mean, I hope Disney keeps him for a long, long time. I know that he's supposed to be working on music from The Little Mermaid to live action, but I think the music is definitely a huge takeaway from this one.
Some songs more than others. I like the Family Madrigal. I like that We Don't Talk About Bruno. Some of the other songs are just not memorable. Like I know that Luisa has a song and I can't even think of the tune of it right now.
Well, you're going to have to watch it 18 more times immediately. Um, Yeah, so I mean, but it definitely is driven by music, which it harkens back to Beauty and the Beast and to those Howard Ashman musicals, because there are some where they'll just add music to it and you don't really, it's not integral to the whole thing. And at least with this one, I feel like it's a big part of it. So I think that as you learn the music, you probably appreciate the movie even more. Watching, one
Oh,
that was one of the things that we were stuck on, was the music afterwards. What were you gonna say?
the one thing about Luisa's song was when she compares herself to Hercules. I really wish that they had showed us the Disney Hercules and not just some random Hercules, because it did seem like the three-headed dog, I can't remember his name right now, but
Cerebus.
he looked like he looked like the one from the Disney Hercules movie, but Hercules himself didn't look like our Hercules.
Well, not just that he didn't look like Hercules, but like even like the sword and the shield that Luisa ends up picking up later. That, I mean, those don't look like Hercules, like from the Disney movie. So I agree with you, and I think a lot of people have thought that as well. Is that it feels like, why that seemed like an easy grab.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that?
Like
Like,
when Maui was shape shifting, they randomly had him turn into Sven, and I thought that was hilarious. So if you're gonna throw Hercules in there, throw the Hercules you already own in there.
yeah. So here's the one. Yeah, doesn't look anything like him. He's got the beard. Yeah, not nothing. So, yeah, it does seem like that was a missed opportunity, but maybe they just thought it would take you out of the moment. But I think it took all of us out of the moment that it wasn't actually the Disney Hercules.
Yes.
Ah, well. Yeah, so with Luisa's song, she's basically saying like, "Hey, on the outside everything is cool, but underneath everything I'm a wreck." And so
And
that I think is the first time that we see that anybody other than Mirabel is having a problem with the way things are.
I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to, trying to be strong for everybody else, and inside you're just not.
Yeah. Well, so musically, we're talking about Hercules. I love the music from Hercules. Like, I think that's
Yes.
amazing. Bless my soul,
So
Herc was on a
underrated.
roll. Come on.
I love the
Um,
muses.
Yep. So, like, I think it really kind of kicked off with, like, The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King, Pocahontas, Hunchback, Hercules. I mean, all of these that I'm listing off, Mulan, Tarzan, like, just some amazing music in these full-length
I'm
animated features.
so lucky to be a kid of the 90s.
So, where do you feel like, we talked about where this ranks in your recent movies, but where do you think this ranks as far as, like, the music goes? Because it sounds like you're not a fan of the music yet. So, I mean, is this like near the end, near the bottom? You're not quite there.
I don't know, maybe somewhere in the middle. I
Yeah.
like it better than the Black Cauldron. How about that?
Okay. Um, what were your favorite songs from the Black Cauldron?
Not, I don't even know if there were any, to be honest. It's
Rosita
been so
says
long since I've seen that one.
Rosita says the movie is a bit too long. It's an hour 46 runtime. I mean, that is pretty long. Most Disney movies are anywhere from like 88 to 95 minutes for most Disney
So I,
movies.
I've watched it a couple times, but neither time has been sitting through the full length because I have toddlers and they can't watch an entire movie in one sitting. So it's like I've watched the first half and then they go to bed and then like the next day we watch the second half. So I've only seen it in chunks. I haven't sat down and watched the whole thing. So maybe that's why it didn't feel that long to me because I've only watched it like an hour at a time.
Okay. Um, I mean, to me, honestly, I watched it for the second time, and we paused it at like 30 minutes into it, and then my son and I were watching it, and he's older, and he went, "There's an hour left?" Like he was like he didn't even like realize exactly how long it was. But I mean, there's a lot of story to tell, and again, there are 12 characters, 12 main characters that you're introduced to and get to know, and they have their songs, and they have their, like there's this mystery of the house, and the house is starting to crack, and the magic's starting to fade. And so the question I think that I'm not really sure that was ever answered is why is the house, why is the magic fading? Is it because that Abuela has been too pushy as into what the magic is for? Is it, one of the theories that he came up with, which I'm not sure I agree with or disagree with, is that it comes to be not being positive, or just kind of like a lack of faith that makes the thing start
I
to break down.
I thought that it was love. I thought that the magic happened because of the love that Abuelo had for his wife and his three babies, that he gave himself up and sacrificed himself, and that love created this miracle. And because Abuela was not showing love for Mirabel, Mirabel wasn't showing love for Isabella. Um, that was why the house was starting to crack, was because the love within their family was cracking.
Speaking of cracking, I'm looking at the chat about, they went off about the Black Cauldron. Like Neko was, Black Cauldron had music, and Rosita said, no, I like the Black Cauldron better. And Brandy said, ouch, Desi, low bar. Like, I mean, that was a completely random pick for you in that one, as we're trying to compare and where this thing falls into the top 60. That's the other thing is, as let's step back from Encanto for a second to talk about these 60 movies that started with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and basically, 90 years, 85 years later, we're doing this one. So there's been 60 movies. Some of them feel weird that they're counted as full-length animated features. Always something that I've been interested in. Like, Saludos Amigos is one that I think a lot of people would probably say, well, why does that count? Because it's got a lot of live action in it, and, it's kind of an amalgam
Or,
movie. Or Make Mine Music and
right,
Fun and Fancy Free and Melody Time,
Fan
which
and
are all
Fancy
like,
Free.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're all like these stitched together stories that
They're like
happen.
shorts.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think those are all kind of very weird, and even The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh that came out in 1977 was stitched together Pooh stories, and I think a lot of that had to do with the money that the studio had at the time. Those early ones were done during the war when he didn't have a lot of
Yeah.
resources to put those movies together. You know, the Black Cauldron was kind of actually sort of the bottom of the barrel when it came. I mean, I love the Black Cauldron movie too, but there was kind of the bottom of the barrel when it came to animation, where they were kind of on a lull before they started back up again. Oliver and Company, I think, is underrated. Oliver and Company, I love the music. Billy Joel fan, huge Billy Joel fan, huge Huey Lewis fan who was in that one. There was a cast member once, and I walked by and they were singing some song, and I kind of looked over and they were like, "Oh, we're taking requests. Any Disney songs?" I was like, "How about Once Upon a Time in New York City?" They didn't know it, which is the opening song to Oliver and Company, sung by Huey Lewis without the news. So
I mean, I'm sorry, it's not as good as the Back to the Future soundtrack,
no,
but
you know, sorry guys, you're just too gosh darn loud. You know what? Another movie that this one kind of reminded me of, though, was Meet the Robinsons. Because in Meet the Robinsons, you have again this
this is better than Meet the Robinsons.
What do you got against Meet the Robinsons? What? I feel like is it because there was no music in Meet the Robinsons? What do you got against Meet the Robinsons?
I didn't feel like it was memorable. I'm sorry.
You got to go back and watch it. I don't know. I like that movie. I think that one's very underrated. At some point, we'll do that one on Deep in the Plus. I think that one's very underrated. But I feel like it's the same kind of a situation with this like quirky family, you know, that they have going on. You know, maybe not quite the same, but it has that kind of vibe to it to me. But you know, again, there are a lot of other things that remind me of other Disney movies in this movie, including, and I think you and I talked about this in a chat this morning, is, you know, Luisa on her swing feels like a very Tangled thing to me.
I mean,
and to
for
you,
me, it reminded me of Teddy Bear
yeah,
from the Country Bear Jamboree.
Yeah, true. Because she's swinging on a swing with flowers on it.
That's right.
But yeah, I feel like as she's swinging through there, it did feel very, very, very Rapunzel to me. But you know what? We'll meet in the middle and just say we're both right.
Okay.
So the other thing about this movie, as we're moving through and the house is cracking, is no one seems to believe Mirabel that this is all going down, but at the same time, they don't want to believe it. I think that's really the truth of it. It's sort of like, you know, like an inconvenient truth, and Al Gore and talking about global warming, and, you know, and here we have her saying, "Hey, the house is cracking." They're like, "Nah, it's fine. It's fine." You know, like it's not cracking.
Abuela seemed like she believed her. They all followed her back to the casita.
They did.
But then the casita wasn't cracking. So, I mean, what else are you going to think? I mean, you can't really blame them.
But I mean, she kind of went at Mirabel for that, right? She went at Mirabel and was just like, "Hey, no, shut up. This isn't happening. Just go. It's fine. Everything's fine." And she's trying to cover it up. But she's kind of making Mirabel look foolish when she does that. And yet we find out when Mirabel sneaks away later and hears Abuela talking to her husband, you know, spirit, and saying that, like, "I don't know what I'm going to do. The magic is fading. The magic is cracking." So she knows it's happening. She just doesn't want to admit it. And same thing with Luisa. She's like trying to bury everything deep inside and say that everything's okay. And the same thing with Isabella is that she's trying to say, "Hey, look, I'm going to marry this guy." That's the other piece of it, is that she's going to, you know, get engaged to this guy because she's going to do it for the good of the family. But meanwhile, he's really not the guy she wants to marry. So there's a lot of this, like, we're not really saying the truth. And that's really at the heart of a lot of movies. And the storyline is that there's a lie. And there's a big lie. And if we don't have the lie, you don't really have a movie, right? And so that's really, at this point, where in Act 2, that lie is what is kind of propelling this movie. And then her need to find proof of it by going into Bruno's room and finding the vision that he had, which is of her ruining the house, cracking the magic. And so she finds this, and now she's shook, and she wants to keep it to herself. And her father sees it, and he's like, "We're not going to tell anybody about this, but we've got somebody with a secret power across the hallway that can hear anything from a mile away." And apparently she's also a big gossip. So, you know, that's the thing too. I want to say thank you so much to Rosita, who gave us a $50 super chat. Thank you so much, Rosita. We really appreciate you. It says, "I love Disney movies and I love the show. Happy New Year, Rob and Desi. Looking good." Well, feeling good. Thank you. But but honestly, thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
We
Rosita.
really appreciate you. So when we Dawn is saying, do we have to talk about Big Lies? No, we don't have to talk about Big Lies. That's fine. We won't talk about Big Lies. But when we go into this movie
Big
with
Lies and Bruno.
yeah, but we don't talk about Bruno. Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. So Bruno is the uncle, and he has been banned and banished, and we don't know why. And everybody thinks he's left, but the reason that they don't know that he was actually kind of shunned by Abuela because, again, hiding the truth, right? Hiding the fact that this vision happened, and she doesn't want it to be true. And so when she goes to when he tells her the truth, it's like, she's the messenger. He's the messenger, just like Mirabel is the messenger of, and we don't want to, hear this from them. So he leaves because he feels like every vision he's had has kind of been bad for people, and he doesn't want to be bad anymore. And so he disappears. But then we find out that he's been hiding in the walls of the casita the whole time, and that he's living his life in there, and he's like using mice or rats and doing telenovelas and things like that. So again, made me think of time period telenovela. So he clearly knows about television at this point. So that's why it was like, when is this thing taking place? But he is having this kind of this hideaway in the walls, but it's this very, very sad moment. I don't know if this hit you as hard as it hit me, but it's this very sad moment where he's got this this very thin crack through the wall where he can watch the family eating at the table, and the table runs all the way down to where he is in his inside, and he's got his own table place
He
setting.
like drew his own Bruno plate. It was so
Yes,
sad.
it is. Yeah, it is.
That was probably the part of the whole movie that really got me.
Yeah.
Was the Bruno plate.
No, it is. It's very moving because you're looking at it and you feel so bad for him instantly. And and Bruno is voiced by the very talented John Leguizamo. But when I told my son that John Leguizamo was the same as Sid the Sloth, he lost some credibility for him because he's like, oh no, I hear it
What?
now. Yeah,
Tell
yeah,
him that he's the gangster from The Mandalorian.
yeah. Well, we could do that too. But again, I feel like that he's always Sid the Sloth, and you can kind of hear that when all you're hearing is his voice. But he is really, in a lot of ways, he and Mirabel are like at the heart. They are the heart of this whole thing. As Abuela is the leader, and as Luisa and Isabella are like the good soldiers. They are the heart of this because they are the ones that truly love the family, are really concerned about everybody else, and they want it to be, they want things to be good for everyone. So, it
Well, I
really,
think Luisa and Isabella do too. I mean, look at all the weight that Luisa is putting on her shoulders, both physically and metaphorically, and Isabella's willing to marry somebody she doesn't even love for the family.
but that's why I say they're kind of the soldiers. They're going through the motions of it, whereas as Bruno and Mirabel kind of see the whole picture, I feel like. So, I mean, I don't disagree that they're all wanting the best things for everybody, but the Mirabel's ready to take it head on. Bruno was not ready to take it head on, but he sits back and he kind of surveys the whole thing, whereas the others are just they're going to do what they're told. She wants to be the one helping everybody out in the village. She wants to be the one to marry, the person she's supposed to marry. But again, they are sharing their gifts with the village. They're helping everybody, and it's really, I mean, it's really a cool relationship that they have with the people of the town. So, I love that Luisa is down there, and like why did she lift the church? Why did it have to be 20 feet over to the other side? I don't know, just to show that she could lift it, I guess.
Well, if their family is so integral to the community, how come those children didn't already know what everybody's gifts were, or that Mirabel didn't have one?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that was all done for our benefit, though, right? Through the song was to teach us, like, what is everybody's power. Speaking of power, all the power is kind of represented by the doors. The ceremony that they have is they reach for a doorknob, they touch the doorknob, and then their power is imprinted on the door, opens up, and it becomes part of who they are, and that's the gift that they're given. Magical doors Made me think of Monsters Inc., especially in the part where Luisa's holding her door back, and you see all these just lines of doors back behind it. So it's interesting to me that that's the talisman we use in this is the door. I don't know. I guess you know when you have this many movies between Pixar and Disney, there's some things are going to overlap. Let me guess, you never once thought of Monsters Inc.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, that's
But
fine.
now that you said that, I'm never going to be able to watch this movie without thinking of
That's
Monsters
all I
Inc.
wanted. That's all I wanted was to mess this up for people. Is whether it's throwing the Sid the Sloth thing out there or the doors from Monsters Inc. That's all I wanted was to make sure that people are definitely distracted by it. You know, when Rosita's watching this, she's going to be thinking about Black Cauldron from now on. It's like, you know, we got everybody thinking of stuff. You know, Madeline's going to be like worried about like why are you worried about the last name? You know, it's all going to everybody's going to have a different thing. So let me ask you another thing. I need to know your take on this because it's something that entered my mind when I'm watching this. Abuela is like the leader of this village, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mirabel is her granddaughter. Is Mirabel technically a princess?
No, I'm sorry. I think that I feel like heard about Lin-Manuel Miranda talking about Mirabel, and she's not a princess. But he still likes the idea of having a Hispanic princess. But apparently he's never heard of Elena of Avalor because there's already a Hispanic princess.
True. Yeah, that is true. I guess I just felt that because there, you know, I mean, Pocahontas is like, you know, princess adjacent because she's the daughter of a chief, and I mean, and
Like
so
Moana.
yeah, exactly. So just something that crossed my mind, but I think that it's very interesting how vulnerable they make Mirabel because she doesn't have the power, like you said. That usually the hero has the power, and she's the only one in the entire family that has glasses. So again, I mean, they make her to be able to be very vulnerable, which leads me to this next question. You ready?
Yes.
In the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, when he gets his spider bite, he can see. He pulls off his glasses and he can see clearly without his glasses on. He's been healed, right? If
Mm-hmm.
Mirabel's mother has this healing power with her food, shouldn't it be possible for her to heal Mirabel's sight?
Maybe Mirabelle just likes wearing the glasses because I got LASIK. I don't have to wear glasses anymore. Sometimes I just feel like it.
Hmm.
So, um, sometimes I just like the look of wearing glasses even though I don't necessarily need them anymore. And I have like the blue light blockers that I wear sometimes, even though I don't technically need glasses. Maybe she just likes the way she looks with glasses, so it doesn't matter if her mom heals her or not. She's making a fashion statement.
Yeah. Um, so uh, another thing that happened in this movie, sorry, is that they talk about the other things that in the song specifically. We don't talk about Bruno. They talk about the fact that Bruno ruined Peppa's wedding because like he said it was going to rain and then he made it rain.
But not
So
in the good way.
is there a good way to make it rain? Oh, sorry, I'm caught up. I'm all caught up. I'm sorry. I'm not as worldly as you are. I don't get these things. Um,
Yes, there is a good way to make it rain.
But in that song, when they're singing, Dolores is talking about how she thinks she can hear him, which is like the first time we've heard her say that because she said she hears the rats in the walls talking, but we've never really heard her say that like that she can hear him. But in this particular shot, you can see as she's singing about him, there's a figure skulking in the top left. About skulking around, which is something that I did not catch the first time around. And so that
I didn't catch that either.
yeah, so that and it's as she's like swinging around and talking about Bruno that all that happens. But I was going to see there's another scene in here, which again I can't really stream it. but you can see here that there's that figure again between the two of them in the background and the eyes glowing green, which happened with Bruno. So again, he's kind of sneaking around in the background as she's singing about him, which I thought was kind of cool. But it's one of those little things that I didn't notice the first time, but because you're focused so much on Dolores and Mirabel and what they're singing in the foreground of this one. And it's a very dancey, it's like a cha-cha, very dancey song that they're actually moving to. Get it, girl, go. I see you moving. I see you moving. So when they're doing this, they're dancing around. And you can see, like, to me, it feels very real. Like, at this point, it feels like this is a musical. Like, I could picture this happening on Broadway. Just saying. So
well, I mean, that makes sense, given Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Right. So, I mean, could this be the next Broadway adaptation? Because it would fit pretty easily. And it feels like it could be done.
I
that
would
you could
like
have the house. Like, I can picture it now. You can have the house.
didn't.
Go ahead.
Frozen didn't do very well on Broadway, if I'm not mistaken. So, I would be surprised if they would keep going with Broadway. Although they did just come out with a Winnie the Pooh Broadway, so who knows?
Yeah, I think that's off-Broadway, and I also think it's probably kind of secondary. I don't think it's necessarily Disney that's doing it, but
Right.
But anyway, so here again, we talked about it a little bit before. Here's Luisa on her swing, that like the giving you teddy bear vibes, but giving me the whole like tangled vibe with the
Tell
flowers.
me that's not Teddy Bear. Look at that. Come on.
If you say so. I mean, we all see what we're gonna see. Not before Coco. So, do we need a Coco musical? I mean, there hasn't been a Pixar musical, a Pixar stage musical. Maybe that would be a thing. That's Rosita is talking about that. Yeah.
I don't know. I probably like the music in Coco better, to be honest.
Madeline, I don't know if you're talking. She says the staging and choreography of the musical numbers were next level. If you're talking about this, talking about from this movie, but there was a time when they're setting the table, and they put the plates down and they move them, and the glasses, and they move them, and at that point I could feel that this was something for a stage. Like at that point, this felt like something. And again, like you said, Lin-Manuel Miranda, in the Heights and Hamilton, this definitely feels like something that they could do. Did one of us say Luisa? I thought we said Isabella, but I could have said Luisa. I'm sure I'm probably wrong on that. So thank you for the correction on that. That was definitely Isabella, not Luisa. So when they're putting all of this together for stage, if anybody's listening that is about to stage a thing, we approve. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. I think it would make a great musical, and I think that I'm ready to see it.
I don't know.
Broadway.
Now
you got
have me
Coco?
wanting a Coco musical. Yeah.
Yeah, again, Coco has not had I mean, not Coco. Pixar has not had a musical on Broadway yet, so could be time. Although I think the Anderson Lopez team wrote the music for the Cruise Line Toy Story musical, if I'm not mistaken. So that's maybe something they could bring into the fold. Okay, so. The other thing about this that I think is that once they figure out that the magic is breaking, and then they get to Bruno, and he gives basically Mirabel another reading. He brings to life yet another vision. In the vision, he sees a butterfly landing on a kind of on a pond, and then he sees her hugging who they think is Isabella, and so they're embracing, and he thinks this needs to be Mirabel bringing the family together by getting kind of hugging or embracing her sister, and that leads to her song, and us finding out that she doesn't really want to be perfect all the time, and she doesn't want to marry this guy. And so in doing so, she starts throwing colors and flowers and all kinds of cactuses and things that she hasn't normally done before that aren't quite perfect but are still beautiful to her. And in doing that, she looks like she's out of control. And then Abuela is like, look, you've ruined Luisa because she can't lift things anymore, and you've ruined Isabella because she's out of control, and you've broken all these things, and this is all your fault. Which again, as she's been positive, as she's been the one who hasn't gotten the gift, as she's gotten the short end of the stick, to have her grandmother basically yelling in her face, "This is all your fault," just is demoralizing at this point. And the fact that then she turns around and then repreaches that to her abuela and says, "No, actually, this is all your fault. You're the one who wants everybody to be perfect, who doesn't look at what this is doing to everybody. This is all your fault." Was a very strong moment, because again, the messenger is never the favorite, right? And so she's delivering this message that needed to be heard in a moment, and she doesn't do it out of anger, a little bit, but as much as I wanted her to after the beatdown that she got from Abuela. Agree, disagree, thoughts?
Yeah. I think this is something that a lot of girls can relate to, not necessarily with their grandmother, but I know a lot of girls and their mothers have kind of issues like this, and when they are teenagers, butt heads a lot. So it feels like something very real that a lot of people would probably be able to say, yeah, I can see myself in that situation. Where, you've got a family member who's being very stern and not listening, and a rebellious teenager who wants to have their own way and thinks that they know everything about the world. And it's neither one is 100% right. But they need to find the common ground.
Dawn says, "Yep, total B, that abuela." But the thing is that up until this point, she is not the kind grandmother figure. She is the strong, hard matriarch of this village family, and just making sure
she was the kind at the very beginning of the movie when she thinks that Mirabel is about to get her gift. She is the kind grandmother.
True.
It's not until after Mirabel doesn't get a gift that she kind of hardens.
Yeah, but at that point, you're just almost angry at her for because at this point, again, Mirabel to me is a lot the heart of this, and she is just kind of come at her, and so it's really hard to look at her and just be anything but just miffed until she then follows Mirabel to the edge of the water. And kind of has this heart-to-heart talk with her, where you get to kind of really feel for both of them at this point, and they kind of comfort each other, and it kind of is Bruno's vision come to life, but it wasn't the sister, it was the abuela that they needed to embrace and kind of come together and realize that this is again, it's about family, and it's about being it doesn't matter if you have the gift or don't have the gift, or we have the magic, we don't have the magic, we're still family, and we can still all do this together. And so they go back to the place where the house
Bruno's
is.
vision still came true, though, because when she was hugging Isabella, she saw that the cracks were healing in the house, and it wasn't until Abuela came in and was like, "What is going on?" that it started cracking again.
Yeah.
So she did save it kind of twice, I guess.
True. So I feel like, though, that at this point, we've realized that they have each other, and that's enough at this point. And so they go back and they're going to figure out how to rebuild the house. And then here comes the town folk who have been there the whole time, reaping the benefits of the magic, of the family, of the gifts, and now they want to give back. And a very heartwarming moment, very Disney moment when that happens, and the whole village comes to help out. And at that point, you're like, what's going to happen? Because all the people in the family have lost their gifts. The candle that has brought this magic is blown out, and now they don't have the magic to do it. So now they just kind of roll up their sleeves and as a family put it together. So I think that's a very nice message. But man, if they hadn't had that moment at the end with Mirabel getting that doorknob, putting it in, and the magic coming back, I think I would have been angry.
If I'm Luisa, I'm getting angry because I'm like, look at all this stuff you had me doing, and now you're proving, all of you townsfolk, that you could have done this for yourselves the whole time. You could have built things yourself, and you had me doing it. So if I were Luisa, when I got my powers back, I would probably start saying no a whole lot more often.
So here's my final comparison. Is that and again we talked about the movie Coco or a little bit earlier, right? Is that in Coco, music is banned, music is bad, and Miguel goes on this journey, and if you haven't seen it, we did a review of Coco with Eric Wolf and talked about that because I love that movie. It's one of my favorite Pixar movies. But he goes back, he comes back and he kind of brings music back into the family, and the family realizes that what an important part of their lives that music had been, and it's been banned for so long with again a very angry grandmother, right? So like then he kind of turns her by going to Mama Coco and bringing her the joy and the peace that she needed, and so now she again realizes that she had been kind of unfair in doing that, and that the family is more important than not having music, and and they kind of all bond over that, and things have changed for the better because of it, which is the same thing here, because now Luisa can rest a little bit and she doesn't need to work so hard, and Isabella can do the cactuses or colors or whatever she wants to do, and Dolores gets introduced to the guy who was going to marry Isabella, and so they're gonna start dating, and so things are all working out again now, because there was that moment where I guess they had to break things to then fix them again, and then now they're in a better place. That's my comparison. Is I feel like it's very very much like Coco in the ending there.
I I don't think that his great grandma ever seemed like she was against the music. I think it was just his grandma that was against it. But that's for another story, I guess.
No, I thought I said grandmother. Like his grandmother was the one who kept telling him
Yeah,
she broke his guitar and all that kind of stuff.
right.
Um,
But the great grandmother was never against it.
no, she wasn't.
The Coco.
Mama
Right.
Coco. No, but when he brought her back into the fold is when the grandmother gave way. So
Yes.
you and I will fight about this afterwards. It'll be great. So what I just wanted to actually, I guess, ask, is there anything else you want to talk about before we kind of put a bow on this and get final thoughts?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Um, so thank you guys again for watching this with us. We really appreciate you. Again, please give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the review. We've got some great stuff coming down the road for you. In 2 weeks, we'll have another one next week. Still working on that one, but in 2 weeks we'll be doing Jungle Cruise, and then also we have before the next month or so is out, we're going to go back to the decom pile and bring out Xenon. So because a lot of people have talked about Xenon, I know Brink was in everybody's wish list, but we're going to talk
Go
about
back
Xenon.
and watch Brink.
Yeah, we'll talk about Xenon and some other great stuff coming up. So again, we appreciate you joining us every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. Don't forget to tune in for Park Center. We'll be back this coming Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we've talked about this. This is the 60th full-length animated feature from Disney. You've shared thoughts, feelings, anecdotes. Now's the big time to tell me, Desi, are you ready? Are you ready? Would you
Yes.
recommend this movie?
Yeah, I think I would. I think that it's a good movie. I don't know if it's like an instant classic for me the way that The Little Mermaid or Aladdin were when I was growing up. Um, but I still liked it. I thought it was enjoyable. I think it's better than some of the other things that have come out recently. I liked it much better than Raya. Maybe not quite as good as Moana or the first Frozen, but better than Frozen 2. So yeah, I would recommend it.
So for me, I would as well, because I've watched it. The first time I saw the trailer, I wasn't really sure what I was going to get out of this movie. It was very unique, and it was very kind of mysterious, which is good. Usually that we don't get to see everything that's in the trailer. You want a little bit of mystery, but I think it was a little bit too mysterious in the trailer. When you go to watch this on Disney Plus, there are no other extras. I would love to have some more behind the scenes stuff from this one. So hopefully, as as time goes on, they add more things. Obviously, it's only been on for a little bit of time. I'd love to hear like a Lin-Manuel Miranda not director, but like a commentary. That would be kind of a cool thing to do, so that I could learn a little bit more about this. I think we'll see a little bit more of this pop up in the parks, definitely in California. We've seen some of that stuff pop up. Some exhibits in a Mirabel meet and greet has been pretty cool to see. I hope that it becomes a Disney classic. It is definitely a strong movie. I wish I had seen it in the theater to get that full effect like you had talked about, Desi, but to me, I would definitely recommend this to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Even if you've watched our review, there's still a lot of pieces to this. And to Rosita's point, it's a pretty long movie. It's an hour 46, but I think it's a good one to watch, especially with the family, and there's a little something in it for everybody. But just, we don't talk about Bruno. That's the one thing we don't do, is we don't talk about Bruno. So, how dare you? Frozen 2 is better. Is the better one? Okay, that's Arch Fox, who, by the way, says, Desi, he will not watch Brink. Just putting that out there.
Okay, I take it all back. Frozen 2 was so good, and almost as good as Brink.
All right. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We love doing this show. We love watching your feedback in the chat. But if you would just, after it's all said and done, if you leave us a comment, let us know what you thought of Encanto if you've seen it, or how you think it ranks with the other Disney movies. Again, this is the 60th one. This is a pretty big milestone. So, let us know what you think. And, even if you want to tell us other things you think we should review in 2022, we would love to hear from you. So thank you again so much for watching, for listening. We appreciate you. Have a great week, and hopefully you're having an amazing 2022, and things will hopefully be getting very, very much better very soon. We hope. Have a great one.